All right, we're good to go. So this is going to be Unit 1. And Unit 1 is called Rational Numbers. And the reason it's called rational numbers is because of the word ratio. And ratio basically means fractions, mixed numbers, decimals, and obviously integers as well, regular counting numbers. All right, so you need something to write with if you're doing the tutorial for Unit 1. If you're not, you're working on your own stuff. So there's basically three big ideas for Unit 1. Number 1, how do these numbers compare to each other on a number line? So if I ask you, for example, negative 3 over 4 and negative 3.1, could you place in between them a less sign or a greater than symbol? Or another question would be, here's 4 numbers, put them on a number line. Then you need to be able to understand how a number line works. And you've seen them for quite a while. The only one number that's neutral is 0. It doesn't have a sign. Positives go to the right. Negatives go to the left. And this is the important part. If you have a fraction, then the bottom number is telling you how to divide those spaces up. So for you to find 2.5, you have to find where 2 is, you have to find where 3 is, and you have to, looking at the bottom, divide this into 2 pieces. All right? So 2.5 is going to be right here. There's 2.5. Let's go back to the first fraction. How am I going to find negative 3/4? Well, what integers is it between, negative 3/4? It's in between 0 and negative 1. How many spaces am I going to divide the number line into? 4. So I split it into 4 pieces. And how many steps am I going to go to the left? 3/4. So I'm going to go right there. So you have to be able to put fractions and decimals and negatives on a number line. If you're rewriting Unit 1, that's the first skill. Yeah, Jake?
Wouldn't it go behind the 0 though? Because it's 3
Oh, I did. I put it in the wrong spot. Thank you. Good call. Here's the 0. I wrote it here and I didn't write it in here. Look up here again. The arrow that I pointed to here is negative 1 3/4. What I'm more interested in is just 3/4, which is there. Thank you. Good catch, Jacob. So this is not right. That's negative 3/4. But notice the bottom, the 4, tells you what to divide it into. Look at the decimal now, 3.1. Megan, are you okay? Are you rewriting Unit 1?
Yeah, but I'm trying to.
No, you need to concentrate now. This is it. Got it? All right. 3.1. Now, because it's a decimal, how do I split up between the numbers? Because it's a decimal, what do decimals mean? What is our number system based on? So if I say like the metric system, 3.1 centimeters, how am I going to divide between the 3, I have to move over a little bit. Here's negative 3. Here's negative 4. How many spaces am I going to chop that into for decimals? Tenths. This is the tenths spot. This is 1/10. So anytime you're plotting decimals on a number line, you divide it into tenths. The next one would be hundredths, which would be really hard to do on a number line, pretty well impossible. Now, it's hard for me to, with this little graph, to do tenths. So you know negative 3.1 is going to be just barely 1/10 to the left of 3, negative 3. Okay? Finally, the last number is positive 3, and that's pretty easy to find. That's on the right here on the number line. Okay, that's the number line. Notice, make sure you're understanding these two symbols. Remember, the mouth goes on the bigger one. So is this going to be, this is called less than, because it's like a L. This is called greater than. All right, everyone get your answer in your head. Look at the number line. Anything on the left here is smaller than anything on the right. So you have to decide, is negative 3/4 to the left or the right of negative 3.1? All right? And then you have to decide, is negative 3/4 less than or greater than. This is on your test,
This
right?
is-
The next,
it's
not next
greater-
class, one after.
actually, it was
Good.
greater than-
Good. Okay, so that's one part of the test. By far, the majority of the test, though, is operations. And so basically, if I gave you, I don't know, -3.5 and, I don't know, 2/3, I'm going to be asking you on Thursday, which is your rewrite, we're going to do it in class, to either add them, subtract them, multiply them.
And it's multiplied, you just go straight across.
Yep. Except watch out for that, right? Or divide them. Mixed numbers. And of course, the other thing on the test is bed mass. So I could go -3.5, I don't know, plus 2/3 squared. So this is by far the majority of the test. There'll be a couple on the number line and a couple on the greater than, but really it comes down to this. Can you work with negative fractions? All right, so here we go. What's the rules for adding?
You have to be the same denominator.
Good. So it's called common denominator. And in this case, the common denominator would be the first number 2 and 3 both goes into, which is 6. Now, before I convert it into 6, take a look at the fact that one of them's a mixed number. In actual fact, you can leave mixed numbers alone when you're adding and subtracting, but it can lead into some big troubles. Like, for example, look at this one here. Let's say I got a common denominator. -3 multiplied by 3, I'd get 3/6 minus, if I multiply this by 2, I get 4/6. And now we have a problem. How do you subtract 3 take away 4/6? Some of you might say, yeah, that's -1/6. And you're right, but then what do you do with the -3? In other words, it's really hard to do. So this is my recommendation for you, especially when you guys are just first learning this concept. I would make sure you get rid of any mixed numbers. If you ever see a mixed number, just change it to a regular fraction. And that works for all 4, in fact, all 5 of these questions. All right, let's do that. What's -3.5 as a improper fraction,
Would you do 2 times 3 plus 1?
right? -7 over 2. Notice the negative sign goes in the top. All right, plus 2/3. Common denominator is 6. We already did this.
4 over 6.
-21. No, we're multiplying. Plus times by 2. Double this. 4. You get -17. Watch out, of course, for things like little mistakes, right? -21 plus 4. That's -21, and then you go up 4. That's why you're at -17. Little things like that you got to practice. And this is an improper fraction. You can either leave it alone, or in our first unit, we actually took it back to a mixed number. 6 goes into 17 2 times with 5 left over. All right, so lots of adding on the test. Also lots of subtracting. Let's go back and rewrite this to 21. Actually, since we've got this already as a common denominator, let's write it as 21 over 6. We're subtracting 4 over 6. And again, this is why this unit is so hard. I keep warning my grade 8s. You better know, right now they're getting the chance to review fractions and integers. Because I tell them the first unit in grade 9 is negative fractions. And then I use the story of you guys that you really have a hard time in it. Just kidding, I don't. But the point that I want to make here is, it is hard. Coming out of grade 8, now I'm connecting 2 really hard units. Look up here. What's -21? Take away 4. Think of the number line. You're at -21, and you're going to go down 4.
-17.
No.
-25.
Yes. -25, yeah. And so the answer is -25 over 6. And again, you might have to put that as a mixed number, but I think you're good with that. Okay, if you didn't hear earlier, we talked about multiplying is just straight across, and then I circled this number because I said, yeah, but that is assuming you know no mixed numbers for multiplying and dividing. So we already know that this is 7 over 2. Now that you guys are in grade 9, you could actually do something that my grade 8s don't know very well, which is cancel. You can still do it in grade 8. 7 times 2 is 14. 2 times 3 is 6. And then reduce it. Or you could actually sit there and cancel the 2's. The answer is negative 7 over 3. And if you want, put it as a mixed number. Negative 2 1/3. Jacob.
Cancel the twos.
Yep, when you multiply, that's the only operation you can cancel common factors first. Usually you cancel common factors later. Reduce the question later. Yeah, not right now, not during a tutorial. That's only when you multiply, right? And then the last one is division. This is negative 7 over 2. Anybody remember the rule for division?
Flip it around.
Awesome.
Times it.
Nice. Notice it's the second fraction that we're doing the reciprocal for. Reciprocal is a fancy word for just flip it. Notice you can't reduce this. 2 doesn't go into 3 or 7, so you're going straight across. And it's negative 21 over 4. So you see how the rules are potentially, Lars, mixed up? And you don't want to mix up those rules on the test. That's what some of you did that first crack at it. Now you have a second crack at it. Let's just finish this off, and then I can switch to Unit 2. You'll notice this exponent goes first. This is now bed mass. 2/3 squared means 2/3 times itself, which we just reviewed as 4/9. And now you're adding. What do you need? Get rid of the mixed number. Negative 7 over 2 plus 4 over 9. And what do you have to have for fractions? Adding. All right. Common denominator. In this case, it's 18.
How come you couldn't just leave the 4 over 9 and just change the 2?
What do you mean?
Because 2 4 squared.
4 over 9 is in lowest terms. So, all right. So you're multiplying by 9. You get negative 63 over 18 plus multiply by 2, 8 over 18. And that's negative 55 over 18. Make sure it's in lowest terms. Mixed number if you want. You're done. Okay. There is a couple questions with decimals. And just so you know, all you have to do is estimate them. So just do one example. All you have to do, because there's no calculator in Unit 1, is estimate. So you just have to know the rules. Round off negative 3 and negative 2. 3.1 and 2.1, sorry, to about negative 3 and negative 2. You need to know the rule for multiplying. What's the rule for multiplying? A negative times a negative is a positive. And now round it to 3 times 2, which is 6. The answer should be close to 6. Again, no calculator allowed. And so I don't expect you to do the big chart, long division. I just expect you to estimate. Any questions on Unit 2?
No.
Sorry, Unit 1? All right, awesome.